They didn't just bully me in high school. They filmed themselves destroying my scholarship application and laughed while I begged. 10 years later, they invited me to the reunion to humiliate me again. But when I stepped out of that helicopter owning the venue they rented, game over. Before I tell you how I went from the girl they tortured so badly that I almost didn't survive, to the woman who landed a helicopter at my high school reunion and watched their jaws hit the floor, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. Because this story is about more than revenge. It's about becoming so powerful that the people who tried to destroy you can't even comprehend the life you've built. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every single word of what happened that night. So let's go back to where it all started. Back when I was just Brianna Thompson, the scholarship girl who didn't belong. I'll never forget my first day at Westfield Academy. I was 14 years old, standing in front of those massive iron gates, wearing a uniform that was 2 sizes too big because it was donated. My mom had ironed it 3 times that morning, trying to make the worn fabric look fresh. She kissed my forehead and whispered, "Make us proud, baby girl. You earned this." I had earned it. Full academic scholarship, perfect test scores. I was supposed to be living the dream. But the moment I walked through those doors, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. See, Westfield wasn't just a private school. It was where old money sent their children to network before they even knew what networking meant. And I was the only black girl in my entire grade, the only scholarship student in a sea of trust funds and summer homes in the Hamptons. I stuck out like a sore thumb, and they made sure I never forgot it. Ashley Vanderberg noticed me first. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and a smile that could cut glass. She looked me up and down in the hallway and loudly asked her friends, "Did they start a charity program I didn't hear about?" Her friends, Madison and Courtney, laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. I tried to smile and walk past them, but Ashley stepped in front of me. "I'm talking to you, scholarship girl. What's your name?" "Brianna," I said quietly. "Brianna," she repeated, mocking my voice. "Well, Brianna, let me explain how things work here. There's us, and then there's whatever you are. Stay out of our way, and maybe we'll let you survive." I should have known right then that it wasn't going to get better. But I was naive. I thought if I kept my head down, worked hard, and didn't cause trouble, they'd eventually leave me alone. I was so wrong. The bullying started small. Whispers in the hallway, accidental shoulder checks that sent my books flying, finding my locker vandalized with words I don't even want to repeat. But Ashley, Madison, and Courtney weren't satisfied with small cruelties. They wanted to break me completely. Junior year was when things got really bad. I'd been working on my application for the National Merit Scholarship Program. It was my ticket out, my chance at a full ride to any college I wanted. I'd spent months perfecting my essay, gathering recommendation letters, documenting every achievement. I kept all of it in a special folder in my locker because I didn't trust leaving it at home. Our apartment had flooded twice that year, and I couldn't risk losing everything. One day, I opened my locker and the folder was gone. Just gone. I panicked, tore through everything, checked with the office. Nothing. Then, during lunch, someone turned on the cafeteria TV, and there it was, a video. Ashley, Madison, and Courtney in someone's bedroom, holding my folder, my scholarship application, my future in their hands. "Oh my God, you guys, look at this," Ashley said on the video, holding up my essay. "Little Brianna thinks she's going to MIT. They started reading it out loud, mocking every word, every dream I'd written down. Then Madison pulled out a lighter. "Should we?" she asked, grinning at the camera. "Do it," Courtney said. And they did. They set fire to my application, page by page, laughing the entire time. The video ended with Ashley looking directly into the camera and saying, "Oops, guess someone's not getting that scholarship. Poor little Brianna." The entire cafeteria watched in silence. Then someone laughed. Then someone else. And suddenly everyone was laughing, and I was standing there with tears streaming down my face, unable to breathe, unable to move. I ran out of that cafeteria and didn't stop running until I was locked in a bathroom stall, sobbing so hard I thought I'd throw up. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that I went to the principal. I showed him the video that someone had sent to my phone. I begged him to do something. And you know what he said? He said, "Brianna, I understand you're upset, but Ashley's father just donated a new science wing to the school. I'm sure this was just a prank that got out of hand. Girls will be girls. Maybe try to get along better with your classmates." That's when I realized I was completely alone. There was no justice coming. No one was going to save me. I had to rebuild that application from scratch, missed the deadline by 3 days, and lost out on over $200,000 in scholarship money. Ashley had stolen my future and faced zero consequences. Senior year, they escalated. They created fake social media accounts pretending to be me, posting horrible things so colleges would see them. They poured drinks on me in the hallway at least once a week. My phone number got leaked online with a message saying I was offering services I definitely wasn't offering. I started getting calls and texts at all hours from strangers. My mom had to change our number 4 times. But the absolute worst moment, the one that still gives me nightmares, happened 2 months before graduation. I was staying late to finish a project in the science lab. I heard voices in the hallway, so I stepped out to see who else was there. That's when someone shoved a bag over my head. I screamed, but hands grabbed me, dragged me down the stairs. I fought back, but there were multiple people. They threw me into a room, and I heard a door slam, a lock click. When I finally got the bag off my head, I realized I was in the basement janitor's closet. No windows, no light switch on the inside, pitch black. I pounded on that door until my hands bled. I screamed until my voice gave out. No one came. I was trapped there the entire night, having panic attack after panic attack, convinced I was going to die in that closet. The janitor found me the next morning when he came to get supplies. I was curled up on the floor, barely responsive. They called an ambulance. I spent 3 days in the hospital. And the worst part? Someone had filmed the whole thing. Video of them grabbing me, dragging me, throwing me in that closet. They posted it online with the caption, "Where's the scholarship rat?" It went viral at our school. Thousands of views. Hundreds of comments laughing at me. I told my mom I wanted to drop out. I couldn't go back there. But we needed that diploma. We needed the college applications to mean something. So I went back, head down, counting the days until graduation. At the ceremony, as I walked across the stage to get my diploma, Ashley leaned over from her seat and whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "MIT can't fix ugly and poor Brianna. You'll always be nothing." I made a promise to myself that day. I wasn't going to just survive. I was going to become someone they couldn't even imagine. Someone so successful that my name would make them choke on their privilege. MIT was my fresh start. But the trauma came with me. I had panic attacks in crowded hallways. I couldn't sleep with the lights off. I worked 3 jobs to cover what the scholarship didn't, lived in an apartment where the heat barely worked, and spent most nights in the library because it was warmer than my place. But I was free from them, and that's all that mattered. I was working late one night in the engineering lab, testing a prototype for an app I'd been developing. It was a platform that would connect small businesses with micro-investors, democratizing access to capital. I was so focused, I didn't hear someone walk in until he spoke. "That's a really elegant solution to the scalability problem." I jumped, nearly knocking over my laptop. There was a guy standing there, maybe mid-20s, wearing a worn-out hoodie and jeans with paint stains. I assumed he was the night janitor or maybe another broke grad student. "Sorry," he said, raising his hands. "Didn't mean to scare you. I'm Julian. I've been watching you work on this for a few weeks. It's impressive." Watching me? I immediately tensed. That's creepy. "Okay, that came out wrong," he laughed. "I'm a grad student, business development. I work late too. Your code is visible on your screen from the hallway, and I got curious. I promise I'm not a stalker." Something about his smile made me relax just a little. We started talking about my app, and he had genuinely good insights. He came back the next night and the night after that. We became study partners, then friends. Julian was the first person since high school who saw me as just Brianna, not the scholarship girl or the victim. He was kind, thoughtful, and he treated my dreams like they mattered. 6 months later, we were dating. He'd never mentioned much about his family, just that they were in business. He drove an old beat-up car, wore thrift store clothes, and worked part-time at a bookstore. I thought we were the same, 2 people grinding to make something of ourselves. Then one day, I Googled him. I don't even remember why. Maybe I was just curious about his last name, Julian Pierce. And that's when my entire world flipped upside down. Pierce Industries, $40 billion, tech empire. His father was on the cover of Fortune magazine. His family owned half of downtown Boston. And Julian, my sweet Julian, who I thought was just another struggling grad student, was the heir to all of it. I confronted him that night, furious. Were you studying me? Is this some kind of experiment for your thesis? How the poor people think. He looked devastated. Brianna, no. God, no. I didn't tell you because every time I tell someone my last name, they change. They either want something from me or they treat me like I'm not a real person. With you, I gotta just be Julian. Just me. And then I fell in love with you, and I didn't know how to tell you without ruining everything. You lied to me. I kept one thing private, he said quietly. But I never lied about how I feel about you. I love you, Brianna. I love your mind, your strength, your heart. The money doesn't matter to me. You matter to me. I wanted to stay angry, but I couldn't, because I understood. I'd spent my whole life being defined by my lack of money, and he'd spent his being defined by too much of it. We were both just trying to be seen as people. 2 months later, he took me to meet his family. I was terrified. But his mother, this elegant woman who I assumed would look down on me, sat me down and said something I'll never forget. My husband came from money. I didn't. I was a scholarship student who married into this family, and they made me feel like I'd never belong. I refused to do that to someone else. Julian loves you. That's all that matters to me. But I've also looked into your app, Brianna. It's brilliant. So let's talk business. His family invested $10 million in Bridge Fund. $10 million. I cried for 3 days straight because I couldn't believe it was real. And then I got to work. I worked harder than I'd ever worked in my life. 18-hour days, 7 days a week. But this time, I wasn't running from pain. I was building towards something. Bridge Fund launched, and within 6 months, we'd helped 5,000 small businesses secure funding. Within a year, 50,000. The app went viral, not because of flashy marketing, but because it genuinely worked. It changed people's lives. By year 2, my personal net worth hit $50 million. By year 3, $200 million. Forbes wanted to interview me. Tech blogs were calling me a genius. But I said no to all of it. I stayed completely off social media, used my married name, Thompson Pierce, in all business dealings. I became a ghost to anyone from my past, because I wasn't ready yet. I was building something bigger than money. I was building power, real power. The kind that couldn't be taken away by people like Ashley. Julian and I got married in a small ceremony with just family. No announcements, no social media posts. We bought a house, started a scholarship fund for bullied students, and I kept building my empire in silence. I wasn't hiding. I was planning. 10 years after graduation, an envelope showed up at my door. Cream-colored expensive paper. Gold embossing. Westfield Academy 10-year reunion. Join us at Lakeside Country Club. My hands started shaking the moment I saw it. Julian found me sitting on the floor of our walk-in closet, staring at that invitation, tears streaming down my face. "Talk to me," he said, sitting down next to me. "I thought I was over it," I whispered. "It's been 10 years and I'm successful and I'm happy and they still have this power over me. I hate it. I hate that I'm still scared of them." He took the invitation from my hands and read it. "Do you want to go?" "No. Yes. I don't know." I wiped my eyes. Part of me wants to show them who I became, but another part of me knows it doesn't matter. They'll find a way to make me feel small again. They always do. That night, my cousin called. She's a sophomore at Westfield now, and she sounded panicked. "Brianna, I need to tell you something about that reunion." My stomach dropped. "What?" "I was in the bathroom today, and I overheard Ashley, Madison, and Courtney talking. They're on the reunion planning committee." She paused. "They invited you specifically. They know you're successful. They found some old article about you from MIT, and they're planning to humiliate you one more time." I felt sick. "What do you mean?" "They hired a photographer to follow you around and catch awkward moments. They created a fake award called Most Improved Life. That's basically a participation trophy for losers, and Ashley's putting together a slideshow of old photos, including photos from that closet incident. I couldn't breathe. They wanted to do it all over again. 10 years later, and they were still the same cruel people, and they still wanted to break me. Julian took the phone from my hand. "Thank you for telling her," he said to my cousin, then hung up. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Pure rage. "We're going," he said. "Julian, I can't." "Yes, you can. And we're not just going. We're going to end this, once and for all." Over the next 2 weeks, Julian made some calls. It turns out Lakeside Country Club had been struggling financially for years. Old money running out, maintenance costs piling up. They were looking for a buyer but trying to keep it quiet. Julian's family bought it, outright, closed the deal in 6 days. But we didn't tell anyone. The reunion was still happening exactly as planned. We just now owned the venue. The morning of the reunion, I stood in front of my mirror, barely recognizing myself. Custom Chanel dress in midnight blue. Hair and makeup professionally done, but understated. Elegant. The only flashy thing I wore was my engagement ring, a flawless 10-carat diamond that Julian had custom designed. "You ready?" Julian asked, looking devastatingly handsome in his Tom Ford suit. "I'm terrified," I admitted. "Good," he said, taking my hand. "That means you still have a heart. But Brianna, listen to me. You're not that scared girl anymore. You survived them. You built an empire. And tonight, you're going to walk in there and remind them that they didn't break you. They made you stronger." The helicopter was waiting on our estate lawn. As we lifted off, I looked down at the life we'd built together, and something shifted inside me. I wasn't going to that reunion for revenge. I was going for closure. The helicopter circled Lakeside Country Club twice before descending. I could see people on the lawn, cocktail hour in full swing. They started pointing up at us, confused. We landed on the adjacent lawn, the one the country club used for weddings. Julian had gotten permission from the owner. Well, he was the owner now, so he gave himself permission. The helicopter blades slowed. Julian stepped out first, then turned and offered me his hand. I took it and stepped onto the grass in my heels, head held high. The walk from the helicopter to the reunion felt like a mile. Every single person stopped talking and stared. I could feel their eyes on me, hear the whispers starting. And then I saw her, Ashley. She was holding a champagne glass, mid-conversation, and when she turned and saw me, her face went completely white. The glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the ground. Madison grabbed Ashley's arm, her mouth hanging open. Courtney actually stumbled backward. I walked right past them without a word, Julian's hand on the small of my back. Other classmates, people who had been kind or at least neutral back then, rushed over to greet me warmly. "Brianna, oh my God, it's so good to see you. You look amazing. Is that your husband? Hi, I'm so glad you came." I smiled and hugged people, genuinely happy to see some of them, but I could feel the trio's eyes burning into my back. Finally, Ashley approached. She'd composed herself, put on that fake smile I remembered so well. "Brianna, wow, we weren't sure you'd actually come." Her voice was too loud, too bright. "And who is this handsome man?" "This is my husband, Julian Pierce," I said calmly. A guy nearby choked on his drink. "Wait, Pierce? As in Pierce Industries?" Julian smiled and shook his hand. "Guilty." The whispers exploded. I watched Ashley's face cycle through emotions. Shock, disbelief, envy, rage. Madison stepped forward, her smile so fake it hurt to look at. "And what do you do, Brianna?" "I run a tech company," I said simply. "Bridge fund. We help small businesses secure capital investment." "Oh, that's nice," Courtney said dismissively. "Like a little startup?" "We just closed our Series D funding round." Julian interjected smoothly. Valuation came in at about $1.2 billion. Brianna's done quite well for herself. The silence was deafening. Ashley's face was bright red. "Well, that's wonderful. We should all catch up. Maybe get coffee sometime?" And there it was. The shift. From mean girls to wannabe friends. I could see it in their eyes. They wanted access. They wanted connections. They wanted to use me the same way they'd used everyone else. Before I could respond, a man approached and whispered something to Julian. He nodded and turned to me. "Excuse me, ladies. Brianna, the club manager, needs to speak with us for a moment." We walked away, and I could feel their eyes following us. In the manager's office, the poor man looked nervous. "Mr. Pierce, I just wanted to confirm the arrangement we discussed." "Yes," Julian said. "Proceed as planned." We walked back out to the reunion, and I was still confused about what was happening. Then the club manager walked to the microphone set up for speeches. "Excuse me, everyone. If I could have your attention, I have a brief announcement before we continue with the evening's festivities. As some of you may know, Lakeside Country Club has been a cornerstone of this community for over 70 years. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that the club has new ownership. Please join me in welcoming the new owners, Mr. and Mrs. Julian Pierce." The crowd erupted in confused applause. I looked at Julian in shock. He squeezed my hand. Ashley, Madison, and Courtney stood frozen, their faces absolutely ashen. The manager continued, "The new owners have graciously allowed tonight's event to continue as planned. However, effective immediately, membership will be restructured to be more inclusive and merit-based rather than legacy-based. More details will follow. Please enjoy your evening." I watched as the reality sunk in for Ashley. Her family had been members here for 3 generations, and now I owned it. She walked toward me, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in her eyes. "Brianna, can we talk? Privately?" We stepped away from the crowd, Madison and Courtney trailing behind like lost puppies. "Look," Ashley started, her voice shaking. "What we did in high school, we were just kids. Everyone does stupid things when they're young, right? I'm sure you understand." "Do you remember locking me in that closet?" I interrupted quietly. She flinched. That was a prank that went too far." "Do you remember burning my scholarship application while I begged you not to?" "Brianna, do you remember whispering to me at graduation that I'd always be nothing?" Tears started rolling down her face. Fake tears. Performative tears. "I'm so sorry. I was such a horrible person back then. I've changed. I promise I've changed." "Have you?" I asked. "Because 2 weeks ago you planned to humiliate me at this reunion. You hired a photographer to catch me in awkward moments. You created a fake award to make me feel small. You were going to show photos from the worst night of my life in a slideshow. That sounds like the same Ashley to me." Her face went from pale to red. "How did you—" "It doesn't matter how I know," I said. "What matters is that you're still the same cruel person you always were. You just hide it better now." Madison stepped forward. "We were going to apologize. The slideshow was going to end with an apology video from all of us." "No, it wasn't," I said calmly. "Don't insult my intelligence." Courtney started crying too. "Please, Brianna, we're sorry. We'll do anything. My husband works for a company that wants investment, and if you could just—" And there it was. The real reason for the tears. They wanted something from me. I looked at all 3 of them. These women who had tortured me, who had tried to destroy me, who had haunted my nightmares for 10 years. And I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just nothing. "I forgive you," I said quietly. They looked stunned. "Not because you deserve it," I continued, "but because I deserve peace. I spent 10 years letting you live rent-free in my head, and I'm done. You don't get to take up any more space in my life. I forgive you, and I'm letting it go." Ashley's face twisted. "So we can start over? Be friends?" "Absolutely not," I said. "I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I want you in my life. We're not friends. We'll never be friends. This is closure, not reconciliation." I turned to walk away, but Ashley grabbed my arm. "You can't just dismiss us like this. We said we're sorry." Julian appeared beside me instantly, gently removing her hand from my arm. "I think my wife has made herself clear. Don't touch her again." "And regarding the country club," I added, "you'll all be receiving letters about your membership status. Based on the club's new values of kindness and community, I don't think you'll fit the criteria. Have a nice evening." We walked away, leaving them standing there in shock. Julian and I stayed for another hour, talking with old classmates who had been genuinely kind. I learned about their lives, their struggles, their successes. I realized that high school had been just as hard for some of them in different ways. We weren't all enemies. Some of us were just kids trying to survive. But I also realized that staying longer served no purpose. I'd said what I needed to say. I'd gotten my closure. Ready to go home? Julian asked. More than ready. We walked back to the helicopter hand in hand. As we lifted off, I looked down at the country club one last time. I could see Ashley, Madison, and Courtney standing together, watching us disappear into the sky. And I felt free. How do you feel? Julian asked over the headset. Like I just closed the worst chapter of my life, I said, and I'm ready to write the next one. He smiled and took my hand. For what it's worth, I'm really proud of you. You could have destroyed them tonight. You had the power to do it. I know, I said, but destroying them wouldn't have healed me. Letting go did. We flew back to our home, to the life we'd built, to the future we were creating. And I never looked back. That reunion was 5 years ago now. I never posted about it on social media. Never told the story publicly until now. Bridge Fund is still growing. We've helped over 500,000 small businesses, and I've started 3 more companies since then. Julian and I have 2 beautiful kids, and we're raising them to be kind, to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves, and to never, ever make someone feel small. I heard through the grapevine that Ashley got divorced, Madison's business failed, and Courtney moved away. I didn't take pleasure in any of it. Their lives aren't my concern anymore, because here's what I learned. The best revenge isn't becoming richer or more successful than the people who hurt you. The best revenge is healing so completely that you stop wanting revenge at all. It's building a life so beautiful that your past can't touch it. It's becoming so genuinely happy that running into your old bullies doesn't even register as a blip on your radar. They tried to break me. They tried to convince me I was worthless. And for a long time, I believed them. But I survived. I built an empire. And more importantly, I built a life filled with love, purpose, and peace. So if you're going through something similar right now, if there are people in your life trying to make you feel small, hear me. They don't get to write your story. You do. Your worth isn't determined by people who can't see it. And one day, you're going to look back at this painful chapter and realize it was just the beginning of something incredible. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me about a time you proved your doubters wrong. And if you haven't yet, tell me what you're building toward. Because I believe in you the same way I learned to believe in myself. Hit that subscribe button because I've got more stories to share. And trust me, they only get better from here. Thank you for listening to mine. I'll see you in the next one.